If you have been burned by a coaching program before or felt like you weren't getting the results you were promised, I get it. I've been there. The average rate of completion of our online courses hovers around 10%, and with the coaching industry massively expanding, I really wanted to shoot this video out of the bottom of my heart. Today, I'm going to show you how to break through any coaching program or challenge you face by shifting your internal approach and aligning with a process that genuinely works. This is about more than just finding the right coach. It's about building resilience and commitment to lasting growth no matter what the obstacles are. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Luke Anning. I've been a coach for the last 4 years now. I've helped over 250 people change their lives. I was growth partnered at a 7-figure company building their sales department, and now I help entrepreneurs focus, grow, and scale using NeuroProductivity. So with that said, let's get into it. So very back at the start of growing a business, and this was before I even decided to become a coach, I wanted to start a music event because I wanted to change somebody's life for one night. Music events for me were an escape from reality, which was just absolute darkness and mental health challenges at the time. And I wanted to change somebody's life for one night. And we started on that journey. We started making little steps here and there. I say little steps. And I remember one time that I just spent some time with a friend, and then I went back to my place. I went to sleep. I woke up and had night terror because at the time I was staying in basically a trap house, and trap house is basically a house that they sell drugs out of. And I was sleeping on my friend's floor, and I was sleeping in my car. So there was a lot going on, and I woke up and I had a night terror. I thought somebody was at the door ready to stab me. And then I had an anxiety attack in the morning as well. And if you've ever had an anxiety attack, this kind of like weird haze in the morning, and this weird haze of clarity where there's not many thoughts that can come up, but when thoughts do come up, they're either anxious related or they're life-changing. And for me, the life-changing thought was, well, why would I change somebody's life for one night when I can change their entire life with coaching? Since I'd just been on a bodybuilding journey, I'd lost a ton of weight. I went from like 90 kilograms down to 78 kilograms. I was shredded. I looked really great. But I also had a ton of people reaching out to me for support. And I had a really great fitness coach and support at the time. So that's how I ended up coaching. And I'd been in mid to high level athletics for 10 years plus at that time. So that's how I started coaching. When I invested, after the first 3 months with my trying to figure it out by myself, I made like £1,500 tops, I would have said. And I needed to invest into a coach because I didn't know what I was doing, which of course you would do if you're at the start. Why would you know what to do? It's like trying to be a surgeon without getting any surgeon training. You're going to make some pretty catastrophic mistakes. So I invested into my first coach, and my initial motivations for getting a coach were my life sucked. I didn't like it. I was building this business and I had the freedom to work whenever I wanted, but I was working 100 hours a week. And I remember spending 5 days on a freaking logo that I don't even use anymore, when I could have just paid somebody on Fiverr to get it done for me. And you can even use AI to do it for you now. You don't even need some stuff sometimes. And I just didn't like it. And my view was like, I don't want to go back. I didn't see a point in living if I was going to continue how I was going and continue with the same struggles. And even though I was helping people, I didn't see a point in going back. I didn't even know what I really wanted. So I invested 10K into a program that I didn't have, so I had to put down a deposit, and I had to get really, really creative with that because I was in bank overdraft at that time. But in the program, I learned that you needed a vision and clarity to know where you were going, because after that first bit of drive of motivation, when things get harder, that's not going to be enough. You're going to give up and try and do something else that's easier. And the first program was great for me. I ended up going into their mastermind, which was $3,000 a month, and the promise was that we were going to make $50K a month within the next 6 months. And the program worked initially great because I'd listened to the guy's podcast for a while, and I had a good mindset behind me with just executing, just taking action. I was a big action taker. So if you're an action taker, you'll figure out a lot of programs anyway. But anyhow, so I took action in this program, and you've got to think about the size of this program. So they're doing around $1 million to $5 million a month. They've got about 1,000 coaches in this program, and only 20 people made it to the mastermind. So that kind of tells you like a fair few amount of people in there not getting the results they want. And yeah, I would say the people that were in there that weren't getting the results that they wanted were not showing up to calls, not doing any of the work, not reaching out for help like was a given. Like I was doing all those things, even though I didn't like asking for help because I had this mindset about it. I knew that I was going to reach out for help, and then that allowed me to unlock the ability to go into the mastermind. And I thought that this program would be the exact thing that I needed to succeed, but the challenge was it really wasn't. It was a very unscattered, misguided program where it felt like they were just making up stuff week to week as we were going along. And like, I really appreciate the coaches. Like, it changed my life, but it wasn't quite what I needed to get me to where I wanted to get to. The first investment, great. Second investment, $3,000 a month, $18,000 later. Not really. I was pretty much in the same point of roller coaster months. So what I did next, I got a one-to-one coach because I hadn't found the solution to my problems yet. I was like, well, I'm not going to give up, but I'm going to keep going. So I got a one-to-one coach, and I, again, had to put my back against the wall to invest in that to make it happen. And that got me to my first 6 figures. And the biggest thing that I learned from that one-to-one coach was learning to trust myself and to follow through. And the next big investment that I made, a few smaller things. I went to a Tony Robbins event. That was great. I did a few mini courses, mini programs. I did agencies. It didn't work out great for me. And I made a big investment into, I won't name names, but one of the biggest people in the space for building slow sales teams. I'll tell you what, initially I went in and I thought this program's so robust, like covered everything with the trainings. And these trainings were like hours long. Like trainings were so long. It was so much information. It was just like documents of stuff. And I had some progress. Like ended up bringing on an appointment setter. They booked 55 calls in their first month. That was great, but the program wasn't a good fit for me. I realized that I'd actually been sold into a program that would have been perfect for me had I already been earning 100K a month, had I already had a team of closers and a team of setters. It would have been perfect for me. I remember connecting with a few other people in the program. They were in the exact same space. They were like a different stage to already a multi-team type of thing to fully utilize the investment. I know like the program works because I've connected with somebody else in person who said that it was one of the best programs he ever took. So programs will work for some people and not work for other people, but there is also this internal thing that will happen, right? But regardless, I kept moving regardless because I hadn't found my solution yet. I want to be really fucking real with you guys whilst we're here. I may be living in Bali right now. I may have found some more solutions and got to where I wanted to get to. I may have growth partnered and helped build a 7-figure sales team. I may have gotten some crazy results with my clients, but I still fucking struggle with emotional regulation. I still struggle with everything that I teach. I'm still working on it. And there was a moment recently, last 2 days, that addiction was popping up and acting out was coming up. And I was in this freeze moment, and I have this really cool anti-self-sabotage document that I created because I realized recently that many of the problems in my life occur when I don't have the right systems in place. If I feel a lack of worthiness, lack of deservedness, I'm self-sabotaging. If I'm not following through on my habits, it's because the system isn't good enough. And a system is simply a strategy repeated. If I have this really cool self-sabotage document that lists all the things that I can do instead of sabotaging and what my triggers are and what my patterns are. And then there's a few questions like, what are the triggers? What are the feelings that you get? And then do you really want the consequence of doing this thing on the other side of acting out? And usually it's no, right? I went out and I went for a walk, and then I listened to a podcast, and I listened to a book, and then I was due to have a call with a client success guy that we're building some stuff with, and rescheduled the call so that I could be grounded. Then I watched Star Wars, and initially like sort of tamed some stuff, and next day I still felt a little dysregulated, and I went to hang out with a friend the next day, which actually triggered me more because I realized that she didn't want to just hang as friends, and it was a situation that could have gone really sexual really quickly. But anyhow, I realized that the answer was within, and I sat with my emotions. I then screamed underwater at my pool. I connected with God, and I asked God, what should I do now? And he was guiding me to answers like, God, what should I do now? Should I do this? No, I'm feeling resistance to doing this. What should I do? Go do this. Did EFT, emotional freedom technique. And I realized the answer was within. And also I realized that God and the universe was sort of testing me. That was like, hey, if you can't handle these things now, then how are you going to handle these things later, like other things that you want? And it's also because of neuroplasticity, where the brain takes time to reform neural connections that have been rewired. And I've just broken a sobriety pattern of the amount of time without self-sabotaging. So I'm outside of my comfort zone right now. I'm continually, every day, outside of my comfort zone. And that's why I'm a little angry, and it's a little bit of passionate anger for this YouTube video. But it's also the shift here is it's also my willingness to not fucking stop until I found my solution. It's the same reason why I've continued getting coaching even when I've made bad investments or had negative experiences. I've fucking continued because I've realized I haven't found my solution yet, or I haven't implemented well enough on my original solutions. And that's why I have such a beautiful relationship with all my clients now, because we have this integrative, cool thing where I ask them for feedback every single call on what's working and what's not working for them. And now that we've built out some of the foundational materials of NeuroProductivity 1.0, I hold them accountable to where they have to get the trainings done in between the next call so that we can accelerate their growth, or we cancel their next call and it goes down as a missed call. Now, if this happens, we'll dive into why it happens. We'll create an internal belief shift. For example, if they don't feel worthy or deserving of success, if they don't have a good relationship with change, or they have a negative view of coaching, or a negative, maybe they didn't have a good experience at school and they think that they're a bad student or they're not smart. We'll do the rewiring process there. That's also what I'm there for. Or it may be an external thing where the time management is poor, and I know that they can get the trainings done because all of my trainings are less than 10 minutes. So all of them are super anti-course. They're less than 10 minutes each. Like, I literally show you some of these trainings now. Some of the new trainings that we just did. So for context, we have some financial planning training for those who like just don't manage their finances too well, as well as some super expansive money mindset stuff. We have good tasking versus bad tasking. We have mastering energy, task-based scheduling. We have streamlined storage for clutter-free mind, so like how to reduce the amount of places that you store information. Like people use sticky notes, whiteboards, multiple journals, notes on their phone, Telegram channels, like all these like different places, and it just adds to stress on your mind. Mind dumping for clarity, but not just a basic mind dump. It's using my advanced process where you're ripping off pieces of paper. It's a really cool process. Efficient calendar planning, as well as minimum viable days and creating a calendar that serves you. So we have one video that's like 12 minutes, and then welcome pack and expectations. And this is mainly outer work. We also have some inner work stuff as well, some foundational stuff for the inner piece, but a lot of the outer work is just practical solutions to get my clients super fast results. So really they're getting through these in the first week, and they're already getting their time and energy accounted for. So there's an insight into some of the trainings that I've done. I've got another 7 I think to do today. So yeah, it's gonna be fun because we're just implementing fast. But anyway, back to the video. Second call, if they miss another call without implementing stuff, we build an even stronger layer of accountability, which is up to them. They can choose however we hold this accountability. But then 3 calls is you're out of the program, because I want to hold a high standard to everyone who's in the coaching process. I don't want to be dragging people up the hill, because if you're a coach or if you've been in a coaching program and you think the coach is going to save you, that's not going to happen. It requires a two-way street. Like I had a call with a guy today and I asked him for feedback, and he said, hey, I'd like things to be a little bit more visually appealing with what you do. And I said, hey, fair enough. Right now it's 1.0 version of the program. That's why we're offering it at a discount. But definitely feedback, so we're going to put in place a little later. It's going to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But in terms of getting shit done, like built for getting shit done. But then I also said on the feedback side of things, I said, what type of things do you feel like you could do in order to have a better experience while you're here? And he said, well, probably implement better on the homework. And I said, well, hey, isn't that lucky that we're just moving into this layer of accountability now where you have to get things done before the next call? He was like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. And then we got our next call set up. But that's because the reason why I hold people to this level of high standards is because I have these standards for myself. Like really care about people getting results, because I don't want them to jump into another program and not get what they needed. Like so many people are investing into more and more business programs when actually they just need to execute on what they already have within them. They just are resistant to it from internal beliefs or beliefs. there's something holding them back. Like I talked to another guy today and I gave him a minimum viable day, right? Like the minimum outputs you need to do each day in order to judge whether this has been a successful day or not. So if you're doing 50 DMs a day, then can you do 25? If you're due to put out 2 Instagram posts a day, can you do 1? And that allows you to keep up momentum and have confidence that you're going to show up and doing the things that you need to. Now, there's also going to be some internal work around that, around not doing as much as you feel like you should do, but that's for another time. But it's the same with Muay Thai, like in a sense of like a student. If you don't go to the gym and you don't get better, you're going to get knocked the fuck out if you ever went into a fight. But also at the same time, if you do show up, you want to have some direct feedback as into what's working and what's not working. You want to be able to raise your hands or ask questions and say, hey, well, how could I do this a little better? Like, how can I throw this jab better? Or how can I throw this hook a little bit better? That's why my clients all get like 7-day support, because I'm super passionate about it. I'm in this season of my clients can get support whenever they need. We also need to have this framing of being relentless and finding the solution. Like, have to be relentless in continuing, or you're just gonna end up in a space where you enter into one negative coaching relationship and then you give up entirely. It's like being in a bad relationship, a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and then saying, okay, I'm never gonna date again. And then what happens? You just end up growing at the same rate that you were growing at, and then you end up being pissed off and resentful at another coach and yourself for not continuing to invest in taking yourself down a road that you'd be a faster solution to where you're at. Like coaching in the right sense is like flying a private jet from Bali to Colombia versus trying to swim there by doing it by yourself. Like, if you're trying to do it by yourself without anybody to give you reflective feedback, you're going to be in a shitty situation. And it's kind of the difference between a entrepreneur versus an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur continues to find the solutions and they don't just play small. Like, an entrepreneur is like, okay, I have this small vision and I'm just gonna like, just want this like life. And like, that's you, like, maybe you're not my person, but like me, an entrepreneur is somebody that wants to change the world in some kind of way, want to create something bigger outside of themselves. And that's because by doing that, they get to solve a real problem in this world. And like, sure, the money comes, like where you're seeing the 100K a month, 200K, 500K, 1 million a month. Like, people do that because they have a vision much bigger outside of themselves. We get super emotional, but if we do, whatever. But like, I do this because my family need help. I do this because my ancestors went through some shit. I do this because I slept in my car and I spoke to the homeless people on the streets, and they said that like, this is so messed up that like they get benefits if they don't have a fixed address. And how are you gonna have a fixed address if you're homeless? It's the difference between you being the person you were put on this earth to be and being the person you need to be versus not. It's having a wife or having your dream partner of your dreams or not. If you're playing small, you're not going to get there. If you're not relentless, you're not going to get there. And even being relentless with a coach that you invest in, like, how many questions are you answering? Are you burying your head in the sand? Like, if you're burying your head in the sand, like, it's not work. Like, I squeeze the juices out of my coaches until they like need to set a boundary and saying like, Luke, ask different questions. Because I'm like, hey, if I ask them these questions, these are the people with the knowledge. These are the people that are here and not here. Like, even with my bad, like, negative investments, I still squeezed out a ton out of the coaching support. And this is because I'm relentless. When I don't have a solution, I'm going to find it. Whether that was like my self-sabotage plan and still going for walks and still finding my solution, or continuing to invest in myself, because otherwise I'm just staying stuck. Otherwise I'm just being average. And if you're listening to this video, it's likely because you don't want to be stuck and staying average and being where you have been. And this is why like Mike Austin went from 25K a month to 57K a month within a month, because we aligned the inner resilience with the business strategy. So we got him to follow through on the things that he already knew what to do. And then I gave him perspective lens on stuff, so they didn't have shiny object syndrome or quit or change his mindset on things, but also he could keep a balance of lifestyle. Like, he literally just took the last 4 days off. Like, how would that feel to be able to actually take that off within your business? So you've got to be really honest with yourself. If you want to come out of being burned from the coaching industry, think, okay, well, how am I not going to be burned? Likely by reinvesting into myself and making something of myself, rather than holding this grudge and resentment against yourself. Do what I did, where you just consistently work and find the new solution. Like I did with the EFT and the God stuff. Like I didn't find my solution on one day, and so I'm going to go to the next day. And I'm likely going to have some stuff come up today. But guess what? I'm still going to move through it. I'm still going to keep going because I'm relentless. And I have this mindset of being relentless. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm going to keep going because I know that that's the only way that I'm going to succeed on my mission. So with that said, this little cat just popped through. With that said, if you're ready to break through setbacks and align with a coach who's real, honest, and resilient, then give me a subscribe. See what I'm about. Because true growth happens when we go beyond quick fixes and we commit to relentless improvement and we move through things. It's how you focus, grow, and scale. So that said, I hope you like this video. Drop this a like, and even drop down below where have you maybe had a negative experience and what are you prepared to do about it? You're prepared to settle, or are you gonna fucking do something about it? So with that said, we appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.